Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for my kind of rational perspective on that mental Premier League game, Chelsea 3, Leeds 2 that happened earlier today. I was at the bridge, I've got back, I've tried to react to the game a little bit more, digest it a bit more before making a video. It feels like a massive win. That's the first thing. It feels like the type of win that Chelsea don't usually get at this time of the year when things start to go wrong, as they have been. And there were moments, twists and turns that went in Chelsea's favour today that I don't think have quite gone in our favour in recent times. And my analysis from this game isn't really champions performance, title winning team winning when they're not playing well. I do credit the resilience of certain players. But there still are concerning things for me that I feel like you can't quite brush over. And there's a consistent theme of sloppy errors that are costing Chelsea from similar individuals over a period of time that it's detrimental to what I think Tuchel's trying to do. And I feel like the biggest thing at the moment is Chelsea are not playing that well. We're starting to concede more goals. The performances aren't that impressive and dominant and sort of assured as they were before, especially pre-Juventus. But Chelsea are still in touch and distance of Liverpool and Man City, who have won their last 5 Premier League games and don't look like dropping points at the moment. That's the most important thing until Tuchel can get back his key midfielders in, obviously N'Golo Kante and Mateo Kovacic. Find, I guess, a solution to the left wing back problem, which is a problem that doesn't have an obvious solution. I have some suggestions, but at the moment it doesn't feel like there's that perfect sort of response that you could give right now, at least until the January transfer window opens, if Chelsea look to go into the market and find a solution to Ben Chilwell's potentially season-ending injury. But it's just the fact Chelsea winning today was so crucial. In the way they did it, you hope can give such a boost to the whole team that they can drag themselves out of these ruts that they haven't been able to, especially in the Premier League in recent years. So I feel like that's massive. You feel like the confidence, the psychological impact of that win, what it meant for Stamford Bridge to experience that. It felt like a proper old school from the 70s Chelsea Leeds game, in terms of the brutality of that game at times, the fierceness of it, the going back and forth, the heads clashing between players. I love that. I have to be honest, as much as we all love elegant football, there is something about that, the blood and thunder of that game, that makes it one of my favourites of recent times. But at the same point, there are still issues, there are still questions for me that I feel like Tuchel needs to rectify and Chelsea needs to rectify if we are to keep pace with the brilliance of Liverpool, Man City, who look so good at the moment. But we won, and that's the big thing. In terms of the starting 11, not too surprised. I guess the two areas, or 3 areas, I guess, that I was sort of thinking was going to be a slightly different, why I would have preferred slightly different, were Cesar Azpilicueta in for Andreas Christensen, Marcos Alonso at left wing back, which I think was the obvious pick in that position if you're just looking at Tuchel's recent selections since Chilwell's injury, but still, there is stuff to talk about with Alonso. And Kai Havertz instead of Lukaku. I can only assume that Lukaku's fitness just isn't there to play in 90 minutes, and especially a game as intense. But again, with Kai Havertz, I think questions need to be asked in terms of his level of performance and just the way Chelsea were unable in that second half, once we got the second goal, to really build on it, to really sustain attacks, to really stop the pressure coming back at us. And it just felt like Kai, for me, just had a disappointing game. We'll get to that. I think the first point for me is sloppy mistakes. It's something that Tuchel has been pointing out regularly in recent weeks, and it's so obvious. Jorginho, the mistake against Man United that leads to Jadon Sancho goal, the couple of mistakes against West Ham where obviously, the Ruben mistake against Watford that leads to their equaliser, Jorginho back pass to Mendy that leads to the Jared Bowen being taken out by Mendy, the penalty, and of course Mendy not being able to keep out that Masuaku cross that goes in for West Ham's winner. The mistakes we saw in midweek at Zenit. And today it was from Marcos Alonso again. I don't just want to pick out one player because, as I say, it's been a more contagious thing in recent weeks, but I can't deny what I'm seeing. And seeing Marcos Alonso quite close at the moment, especially from my side of the pitch in that first half, it's really hurting Chelsea's play, because the wing backs, as we've discussed many times, as I've written about, as I'm sure you know, are so vital to the way Tuchel's system just operates, the way we build up attacks, the way we avert press, the way we defend as a 5, or we add more width and numbers, the way, of course, they go inwards, like we were seeing with Chilwell and James, as you saw again with James today. Alonso is just a different story. And it's not only the fact that he's not adding the mobility, energy, and I think dynamism that Chilwell does, it's the sloppy errors, it's the mistakes, it's the feeling that, to me, Alonso is playing the game at a different tempo at times. You feel like there are moments where miscommunication, or Rudiger will try and fire a ball into him, from that left centre-back position, and we want to start get things moving basically and get up the pitch, and usually, you know, the centre-back plays to the left wing-back, the wing-back then tries to play into someone like Jorginho, and that's how we kind of get up the pitch, or 1-2 or something like that, a quick 1-2 that you'd see regularly with James on the other side and Chilwell on one side. Alonso doesn't really have that capability, and there are a few times where in the second half Chelsea were trying to switch play, which is such another thing, a trademark of Chelsea's play under Tuchel, switching play, opening up the pitch, create width and try and create overloads out wide and create those rotations with especially I guess the inside forwards. Alonso had the ball where he should have been driving forward, and somehow he gets pressed back into his own half, and Chelsea are then in a defensive position trying to avert another Leeds press. It's just the things like that I think are just so detrimental to the way we play, but it's the mistakes as well. Alonso, I felt, made a really poor mistake against West Ham last week. He got bullied out the ball by Soufal, I think it was, that then led to Jared Bowen's equaliser. Poor. And then today it's the mistake for the penalty. It's just a stonewall penalty, and it's the sort of error a player of his age and experience should not be making. It's lazy defending, I feel, because even with James' pace, I feel like he was running into a bit of a cul-de-sac there, and it's just a lazy leg. It puts Chelsea in such a horrible position, 1-0 down after a difficult week. It in some ways, it woke Chelsea up. I think it woke the crowd up, but we shouldn't need really sloppy errors and going 1-0 down at home in a difficult period of the season to really get us going. And it was just a poor mistake. And again, you could pick out several during the day that cost Chelsea. You know, I feel like even Rudiger's anticipation or sort of eagerness to get the ball back, pressing really high up for the second goal, the Leeds equaliser in like the 84th, 85th minute, was, you know, really detrimental, you know, because he's caught out of position. Chelsea then are played around quite easily. It's moments like that, and, you know, we can pick up many players today that you could say are just having those lapses in concentration in all areas of the pitch that are costing Chelsea and really disrupting our rhythm. And I feel like Alonso, I just don't personally want to see him there as consistently anymore. For his age as well, I just don't think I felt like generally across the team today, there was a feeling of the team looking shattered. But it's so Alonso, isn't it, that he makes a mistake but then kind of makes up for it by winning the ball back high against Leeds and then crossing the ball in for Mason Mount. I don't know where Melia was for that goal, but it was so typical that in a difficult moment, who else but Mason Mount bails us out a bit with a good first time finish. It gets us back in the game. And you felt like then Chelsea finally had that movement. It felt like there was a Kai Havertz chance before the break, and you kind of didn't want half-time to come at that point because Chelsea were finally starting to open up space, trying to get round Leeds a lot more. And then, of course, we get the penalty, Rudiger involved. It's so typical that Rafinha, who was celebrating, really giving it to the Haaland lower, really being quite arrogant. Fair enough, he does that, but then it comes back to bite him because he takes out Rudiger. I'm amazed that Chris Kavanagh doesn't spot that from instantly. It's a stonewall penalty, and thank God we have VAR because, you know, obviously that gives us a penalty. Jorginho steps up, Cooley puts it away 2-1, and now I want to see Chelsea take this game by the scruff of the neck. I don't know if it's fitness, you know, I don't know if it's injuries. Players like Jorginho quite clearly playing with knocks. Certain players on the pitch that I'm looking at and I'm thinking they look knackered. And I felt like Tuchel waited far too long to bring fresh legs on, in my opinion. And as I said earlier in the review that I do want to pick out, Kai Havertz, it felt like a number of times Chelsea were trying to hit the ball long to him and he wasn't winning his physical battles. Either that's an error from Tuchel to try that tactic that isn't working when you don't have Lukaku, say, who does win his physical battles. The moment Rom comes on, we hit a ball onto him and he wins it. And, you know, we play through. I think it was kind of in the build-up to Rudiger's penalty in the final minute for the winner. It just wasn't working, and Chelsea just weren't able to sustain any sort of attacks. You know, any sort of attack that I felt Chelsea were really dangerous in that second half after the Jorginho penalty. That's kind of my issue and my concern. We get 2 penalties today that bail us out, and of course it wins you the game, but it's just in open play against a team like Leeds. I expect Chelsea to be doing a lot more, to be opening up that space. It's not just Kai Havertz. I felt Mount, other than the goal, looked tired to me today and really didn't impact the game as he has, but he does score a goal, which is obviously a big thing in the game. It's 1-1. Werner, he scores 2 goals in midweek, but, you know, this is kind of one of those games where you feel like this is a game for Timo Werner against a high-pressing, man-marking team like Leeds, kind of almost a Bundesliga team at times that are going to give him more space. Didn't impact the game at all. You know, you would have been, I wouldn't have blamed you for going on sort of Google and searching the team to make sure Werner played today, because he just was unimpactful. And it's my problem with Werner at the moment is that I think that he's too much of a limited player. And I know that sounds really harsh, but I can't be dishonest with you guys. From what I'm seeing at the moment with Werner, yeah, he scores 2 goals in midweek, but I just feel at the moment his lack of technique from wide areas. Leeds defended a little bit deeper today, which then causes a player like Werner, when he's put in tight areas, especially on that left wing, when he's really dragged out to the left wing, struggles. He struggles, and I just feel there are too many limitations to Werner's game at the moment. They're just too irritating for the team. And when he scores 2 goals in midweek and then gets the opportunity on a Saturday, he needs to take it. And then the argument for me is, well, Callum Hudson-Odoi should be getting a start. Hakim Ziyech should be getting a start. I don't think he took his opportunity today. I don't think he impacted the game in the way you want him to. And he's just too much of a peripheral figure. And that's the problem with Werner, is that it's not only hot and cold. It's not only the fact that there are certain opposition he plays against. If a team decides to sit deep against us, I mean, sometimes Werner looks like a bit of a useless player in terms of he isn't kind of the player you want, the profile player you want. In other games, when he gets opportunities against Man United and he has to bury a chance that I think he should be hitting on target, at least he misses. So there are still too many things for me that frustrate me with Timo Werner. I know it's going to annoy people because I know people love Werner, the way he works hard. I can understand why a coach like Tuchel wants Werner in the team. Still feel, though, that there are too many limitations to his game, and that's why I prefer to see, as I say, other players tried at left wing, because I just think they offer a lot more technically than Timo Werner. But we get the penalty. Rudiger, an absolute madman. He was not going to be denied the win today. That sort of Rudiger mentality that sort of propelled him to the heights this year. And he gets the penalty right at the end there, charging forward like he was against Man United. That's what Rudiger gives you. That's what the back three should be doing against a team like Leeds. We should be getting one of them forward. And we get the penalty. Jorginho, once again, nerves are still, taking it, scoring it. We win. I love the Rudiger confrontation at the end. It reminded me, the only thing that was missing today was Diego Costa. I would have loved to have seen Diego on that pitch today. Just the confrontations, the spats between Dave and the Leeds fans, how much it meant to Chelsea fans, winning that game, obviously the historic rivalry of Leeds, what it means, I think, for the season. I'm going to wait to see what happens on Thursday against Everton before making a key judgment. For me, I think it's about rotating that left wing-back position, trying to find either playing Callum there, playing Christian Pulisic there. I think would be quite interesting as well to see how that would work. Either if you're shifting, say, Reece onto that left wing-back position, which we did at the end of the Man United game, and Pulisic becomes the right wing-back. Either way, I want to see a bit more. I just want to see a new option there personally, because I just think more energy there is what's required for what Tuchel's trying to do with this Chelsea team this season. And seeing Callum, who came off the bench, or Ziyech or Pulisic, potentially, if he's not going to play as wing back, play maybe further up the pitch, and Romelu Lukaku too, because Kai just wasn't imposing himself today. Werner didn't impose himself today. Those are 2 players that you feel like should be big attackers for Chelsea. And given the way Mason and Rom have been combining, and given the way Rom got that goal against Zenit, I want to see him starting against his old club on Thursday, because I think it's the time now to bring Rom back personally. I just think we need to get him in the team. We need to get him playing around consistently with Reece as a wing back too, getting those crosses into him that are so key. Mason too, another creative player. Others too that can probably link well with Lukaku. Sorry, Tuchel has to do it, because we spent all this money on Lukaku for this kind of period of the season when Chelsea were up against it, when you feel like his goals could make the difference this season. So those are my thoughts on the game. Man of the match, it's really. I felt Ruben actually had a really good game. It's kind of difficult. You kind of give it to, say, Jorginho for having the nerves of steel to put 2 penalties away. I don't think he had the best of the game, but I feel like I don't want to be too harsh on Georgie, because he's quite clearly playing with a knock at the moment, and he's just kind of struggling through games. I don't think he made any major errors like he has in recent weeks, but he has obviously the nerves of steel to put 2 penalties away, so you've got to give him credit for that huge mentality to do that consistently for Chelsea now. But I felt Ruben in that middle of the pitch. He's had kind of up and down moments, but I feel back-to-back Premier League games now against West Ham and Leeds, I think he looked really good in the middle of the park, shoving Leeds players off, averting a press, driving Chelsea forward when he could. I just felt if he had better movement in front of him, you maybe would have seen that a little bit more, and he would have been able to play a few more intricate passes forward. But I felt Ruben deserves credit. And Thiago Silva, who just continues. It's a privilege watching Thiago. It really is, just the way he reads the game consistently. So those are my thoughts on a crazy, chaotic game that, it's very hard to make conclusions. It was up and down. It was frantic, but thank God Chelsea won that game. Thank you guys for watching. Follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea, and I will see you again very soon.